Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Exporting Distilled Spirits to Europe webinar. My name is Macy Duplessis. I am the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at SUSTA. Danielle will be joining us shortly as she is with her son for an event at school. But today I would like to welcome our speakers, Anouk and Igni. They're here with the PAF Exporting Marketing, and they're Susta's consultants for the European market. They are based in the Netherlands, but cover all of Europe and have worked with Susta for over a decade now to support Southern region U.S. exports into Europe. So they have some PowerPoints that they are going to put up. And at the end, we will go ahead and take questions and answers. So if you guys have anything, please hold them to the end because we will have a part for Q&A. So you guys can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Macy. Great to see that we have a lot of participants today. This will be also recorded and we can share the slides with you afterwards. So if you have any questions, also know that you can answer them after this webinar. You can find our contact details later at the end of this webinar. So who are we? We work for the company, both Inge and I, for the company VAF Export Marketing, indeed in the Netherlands, and we have been Susta's in-market consultant since 2006. We can skip the full introduction because Macy already took care of that, so that's great. Thank you for doing that. Briefly, what will we discuss today? There are several topics that we would like to discuss. Please note that this is, there is so much to tell, so we had to make some choices. This is some general information. If you would like to receive more in-depth information, please register for a virtual consultation or send us an email and then we can go through all of that. So we will start with a general overview of Europe. Then we will focus on 3 different markets, key markets. These markets are the UK, the Netherlands, and Germany. And then we go, we'll give you a short overview of some export requirements, how to prepare for success, and we will conclude with an overview of some upcoming SUSTA events that might be interesting for you to participate at in 2026. It feels like that's really far away, but it's good to plan ahead and already think about your events and your strategy for 2026. So starting with Europe. Europe is one of the biggest and most developed markets for distilled spirits in the world. And each country within Europe has its own drinking culture. There are differences in price levels and different distribution systems. So when you prepare your marketing strategy, please note that there's no one-size-fits-all approach possible for Europe. And we hope that we can make some differences clear within this webinar. So after the COVID pandemic, people started to go out again. So bars and restaurants are luckily very busy. And cocktail culture is growing fast. Especially in the big cities like London, Amsterdam, Berlin. But at the same time, we still see that home drinking and online sales are still popular. So many consumers, I will put the shading a little bit because otherwise it will be really light. So at the same time, we still see that home drinking and online sales are very popular. Many consumers are buying online, often as gifts or for special occasions. Consumers in Europe, they are looking for quality, so not just quantity. They want to know the story behind the brand. Where does it come from? How is it made? Who is behind the brand? They want to know about all of this. And premium and craft products, they do well when the brands feel authentic and has a clear identity. So again, each country has its own rules for labels as well. There are differences in alcohol taxes, in import requirements. We will explain a little bit more about this later as well. So it's really important that you plan your export strategy market by market, not for Europe as a whole. So what are some trends and growth that we see in distilled spirits? This market keeps changing, and right now the direction is very clear. People are drinking less but better. So instead of buying large amounts, they are willing to pay more for quality, for craftsmanship, and for a real story. You probably know this, but the trend is called premiumization. And it means that the consumers, they are upgrading. So they're moving from standard products to premium or craft spirits. They want to understand what makes a brand different. So sharing your brand story clearly and honestly is key to success here. Another big trend is innovation in flavors and in cask finishes. Think about limited editions, barrel-aged variations, collaborations with local breweries and wineries. Consumers like to explore new tastes and experiences. And next to that, we see that there is a low and no alcohol movement part of this change. So yeah, spirits still remain strong, but many bars and restaurants now also offer free alcohol cocktails alongside the traditional ones. And sustainability is yeah, more important than ever. Yeah, so in short, there are three things that help growth in Europe: quality, authenticity, and responsibility. So if your brand delivers on those three, there's a good potential for growth in the European market. So European consumers are curious, open to new ideas, but also have high expectations. So they look for products that fit within their lifestyles, something that feels modern, tasty, and responsible. So another big thing is the way how people find out about new brands, about new products. And that's online through social media, influencers, and also when they visit cocktail bars. So good storytelling is really important here on social media and when working with influencers. And also when you work with local bartenders and restaurants. This could really help build awareness. Also eye-catching packaging and design and a short and clever message on your bottle can help you to stand out in the crowded shelves. So consumers want interesting spirits that are easy to understand and fun to share with their friends on social media. So now that we've seen some trends within Europe, we will look at the three different key markets. These markets offer strong opportunities for US distilled spirits, and each country has its own culture, drinking habits, and there are some differences in the route to market. So yeah, again, success means adapting your approach to each one. We start with the UK. The UK is one of the biggest spirits markets in Europe and one of the most dynamic markets. Yeah, the consumers in the UK, they enjoy a wide variety of products, and they're also open to try new brands, only if the story and the quality is right. Again, really important also here in this market. The cocktail culture is strong and it continues to grow. And we see that London, Manchester, Edinburgh, like big cities, they are main trendsetters. And in these cities, we also see that bartenders are very influential. So if they like your product, it can spread spread fast. E-commerce plays also an important role in the UK. Consumers often buy their experience online. This can be for gifts, but also online through subscription boxes that they've ordered or are subscribed to. So for smaller brands, this can be a good entry point. So it's an easy way to test a market and to collect feedback before entering retail. And when building a market strategy, many brands start with on-trade here in the UK. So bars, restaurants, hotels. There are strong bartender communities in the UK, strong cocktail and cocktail competitions. These are great places to build awareness. Once your brand is known, you can expand into specialty shops and later into the larger retail chains. For most companies, these are the steps into the market. I will tell this for all markets, but it's important to work with a local importer. The importer, they help you managing logistics, compliance, sales connections. They know the market, they know where to sell to. But it's important that you also have a marketing budget available that the importer or distributor can work with. Only if they really believe in your product, they are willing to help you with this. But it's important to take this into account when setting your price strategy. Then the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a small country, but it's one of the most trend-driven markets. The consumers in the Netherlands, they are open-minded, they are curious. They want to try new things, especially in the big cities. We call this the Randstad area. So the area where you can find places like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht. So they set the trends that the rest of the Netherlands will follow. Also here, the cocktail scene is growing fast. There are many high-quality bars and creative bartenders. And at the same time, we see the Dutch consumers, they enjoy to explore craft and premium products as well for their home use. So they often buy this through specialty shops or online retailers. In the Netherlands, you cannot buy spirits with a higher alcohol percentage that is higher than 15%, so 1.5. This is a difference, for example, with Germany, where most spirits are sold in supermarkets. Storytelling is really important in the Netherlands. Because almost everyone speaks English in the Netherlands, you don't need to translate your labels or the story on your labels. This is different from the mandatory information that needs to be on your label, but Inge will tell you more about this later. They like stories that are short, clear, and honest. And the Dutch consumers appreciate transparency and authenticity, and they like this more than fancy marketing. What else about the Netherlands? Sustainability is really important in the Netherlands. The Netherlands has strong green values, and buyers often prefer to work with brands that are eco-friendly or have eco-friendly packaging or a carbon-conscious message. So that's really important to take into account. Here we created a short overview of the route to market, taking the Netherlands as an example. You see independent importer as the first step. So you will always work with an importer, and he and she and they take care of the rest of the process. But know that you always work with an importer, and it's very rare that you as an exporter will work directly with the retailer. As said, we will share this so you can or take a screenshot or look to this in more detail later. Germany. Germany is also an important market because it's Europe's largest economy, and but it's also one of the most complex spirits markets. There's a strong retail power combined with a large and diverse consumer base. The market is driven by quality and price balance, just the balance between quality and price. The consumers want value, but they don't want to pay that much for the products. But they also want or premium products. So it's difficult to find the balance here. There's a growth for premium products as well here. And unlike the Netherlands, which is really small and compact, Germany also is very regional. So taste and consumption habits can vary between north, south, west. For example, Berlin and Hamburg, they have vibrant bar scenes. But Bavaria, this area is more traditional. So we already split the countries within Europe, but also within the countries there are differences. So it's really important to do your homework and understand the market that you want to focus on. Because this also means that your strategy may need to be adapted to different parts of the country. The retail is dominated by large chains, supermarket chains, and discounters like Edeka and Rewe. It's difficult to enter these stores without local support. So for you as a small to medium-sized brand, specialty stores and online shops are a better match. So also here, work with your local importer. It's really important to find a partner that you can trust and that you like to work with in each market. For all markets, this counts, but especially for Germany. But Germany rewards patience. It's common to focus first on tasting events, bartender education, and regional rollouts before aiming for national retail. You can think about partnerships with cocktail bars and restaurants in cities like Berlin and Hamburg or Munich. These are all a great way to start. And also here, sustainability becomes more and more important. Then we have, together with a German buyer, set up a example of a pricing strategy. It's important to keep into account that the retail price you sell your products for in the US can be different or is different than the retail price in Europe. You cannot just simply copy this. There are lots of costs that are added, like customs, excise duties, shipping costs. So we set this as an example, but please know that excise duties, for example, are different country to country. So it's important when you want to know what the price is that you can sell your product for, that you keep into account, keep into mind that you have to add extra additional costs as well. So again, take a screenshot, start working on your pricing strategy, and if you have questions, let us know.
Thank you, Anouk. So I'll take over. So you have a different person talking to you for a bit. I'm going to dive into the export requirements. Of course, as Anouk said, this is just some brief information. So if you would like more information after this, please feel free to reach out to us, since there's much more to tell, and we could talk hours about all the regulations. And but let's not do that. Let's keep it short, and we'll dive deeper into that if any questions arrive later or on a later stage. What I wanted to discuss with you is well, quite important is the labels and the mandatory label information. Well, as you might know, the EU, but also UK, of course, because when Anouk mentioned the Europe, we have the EU, we have Europe, we have the UK, so it's all a bit different. Even though we're one Europe, it doesn't mean that it's all the same. I mean, regulations within the EU are quite similar, although local markets might have some tweaks here and there. The EU, they set product requirements for spirits, so they regulate labels, the contents, the product names, and labels they must clearly show what's in the bottle. So to help protect producers against fair competition. So the production name must have a strict, well, each spirit has a strict definition and must meet specific regulation rules. And these are defined under regulations. So there are different regulations in the EU, the different regulations in the UK. We can share that with you later if you would like to have a bit more information about that instead of putting all the information in the presentation. But it's very important to really keep that in mind, because the name of the product should comply to those regulations. Same with geographical indication. So of course some names are protected. So if it says Scottish whiskey, the whiskey needs to come from Scotland. You need to have certifications. If there's like a new product, like a few years ago, when Mexico wanted to have the tequila on this list as well. So there is quite a extensive proofs that need to be submitted. So that's something really to keep in mind. So allergen information, of course, the lot number, it starts also always with an L. There are some languages, what Anouk said. The storytelling can be in English, for example, for the Netherlands, but normally it would be better to adapt it to the local language, so to the local market, and that's mandatory for the label information. So keep that in mind. Same with recycling and with health warnings. That's a bit tricky. As in not tricky, it means that it's not really harmonized. So for example, in the Netherlands, there's usually like a pregnancy icon on the bottle. It's not compulsory, but it's recommended. Same with recycling logos. There are different variations of recycling logos in different markets. So it's really important to look into that. And it's not harmonized. And just bear in mind that the regulation regarding recycling is going to be changing in 2026 in August, although it has not been finalized. So also keep that in mind when you talk about labeling, but of course your importer can help you with that, that you keep in mind all those things that need to be on the label, because otherwise, your product will not be accepted. So that is very important. What we see is that digital labels are becoming more and more common. So QR codes for storytelling, additional information about the product. So that's something you could look into as well. So that's in line with all the trends with more storytelling, with transparency. So that could be really important, maybe to add a QR code with some additional information. Well, recycling, Anouk mentioned that as well. Packaging, it must comply with EU and UK food and safety regulations. So lighter bottles help reduce lower emissions, lower shipping, energy costs. And recycling, it doesn't only mean the recycling of the product, so the bottle, but it also means the labels. It means the adhesives. It means the sleeves you might be using. So also keep that in mind. But very important, actually, maybe it should have been on number one, would be the bottle sizes. In Europe, we have nominal quantities of spirit bottles. So that would be 100 ml, or always in metrics, 200, 350, 500, 700, 1 liter, 1.5 liter, 1.7.5, and 2 liters. Those are the quantities. Any other quantities are not permitted. But bear in mind that the standard size for spirits is 700 ml. So this is really something to keep in mind, because it might be a little bit different. For example, if you go to a promotional activity and you would be taking a 750 ml bottle, there is some sort of gray area, but it would be really important if you would like to enter the European market to make sure that you have 700 ml bottles. For UK, I know there are talks of changing that, of allowing 750 as well, but it has not been official. It's not official regulation change has been made so far. So that's something to keep in mind. But once again, we've tested this a few times already. Check this, please, with that it really with your importer or with distributor, that it's compliant to the regulations in the EU and UK, because it would be a pity, if that would be causing any delays. So that would be very important. Well, the same, again, repeating myself a little bit about the importer, every shipment to the UK and to the Europe needs a commercial invoice and a packing list. And these show important information. Also, every product needs to have an HS code. You can easily look that up. It usually starts with 2208, and then the rest, depending on the type of spirits. You need to have the name of the product. You need to have the cost per item, the content, the ABV, the information of the importer, exporter. Is it for example, the terms of payment? So a lot of information needs to be on it. And on the packing list, if it's on a pallet, it needs to have the dimensions of the pallet as well, the net weight, the gross weight. So there's quite a lot of information to keep in mind. And of course, for example, in the EU case, if you would work with an importer and when it's in one European country, there is free traffic between the European countries. So if they would be working with a bonded warehouse, that would avoid having to pay double excise taxes. So I'm sure you're aware of that, but otherwise we can elaborate more on that on a later stage if there will be questions about that. So certificate of origin is very important. Don't forget your freight documents. Your freight documents need to be in line with the commercial invoice. So excise duties, what Anouk also said, are different per country. So that's why working with a reliable importer, they will help you with that, and they will make sure that there's no delays on that matter, because that would be a pity if you would like to have your products somewhere within a certain time. But take your time also. It always takes more work getting the correct documents for shipment. So just to sum up, a few tips to avoid when exporting. We mentioned this before, know your market. So each EU market has different preferences, different legal details. Take your time to understand the market. Focus on maybe one market to start with, not entire Europe, which is more than 50 countries. Do understand what needs. Don't copy the US labels directly to when you would like to enter the EU market, because they don't meet the local standards, or because of nutrition or allergens, or units in ounces instead of metrics. So always adapt them to the local rules, and be transparent about the origin, about the ingredients you're using. Some ingredients, they may be allowed, for example, in the US, they might not be allowed in Europe. So keep that in mind, that you're not using those kind of adding certain ingredients. So, and if you have specification sheets, very difficult word, make sure that they're in metrics. So that would, that would be something to really prepare in advance. And keep track of all the compliance records. You will be needing them. according to the local legislation here, that you need to be able to be showing them. So keep that in mind. And also think about, the payment terms, the terms of delivery. There's something called Incoterms. I'm sure you've heard of them. It actually defines who's responsible for what. So what's the responsibility of the seller or the buyer for the delivery, for the insurance, transport of goods and sales under the sales contract. Are you responsible, for example, until the port or until the final destination? So that's really something to keep in mind and to do some research on that. And if you would like to have more information on that, we can always share more information on that on a later stage, or during a virtual consultation. So when approaching buyers, always highlight what makes your product unique. Taste, origin, craftsmanship, sustainability. They really like to hear the story behind it. It's not like, yes, this is a very nice product, you need to buy it. That doesn't work. So you need to convince people why they should use your product, especially if there is quite a lot of competition. Why specifically should your product be the product they would be interested in? Of course, it's about the flavor, that's number one, but it's also about the storytelling. So also keep in mind what Anouk already mentioned, that importers, they must add VAT, the excise duties, transportation, distribution, costs on top of your export price. So these changes differ by country. So that means by including all those elements, the importer will know if your product is competitively priced. So for example, many times if a buyer would be asking what's your retail price, and you give your retail price of the US, that doesn't work. So you need to take into account that there's a lot of added cost that will be added to come to the shelf price, which will be in Europe or in the UK. And based on that, the importer will be deciding, of course, after the flavor, if it would be something which would fit to their market. And some, like the UK, has much higher excise duties. So that's something really to keep in mind, to do a bit more research on that. We have a few upcoming activities. We've done some spirits activities. This year actually, in 2025, earlier this year in April, we've done an inbound trade mission to Kentucky and Tennessee. We've done pro wine for some years already, some sample boxes. But some activities that would be maybe interesting for you would be pro wine. Pro Wine is the international trade fair for wines and spirits. The upcoming edition, it has changed a little bit. It's two halls for the International World of Spirits. So they have kind of a trade show of spirits within the Pro Wine. It's, as you can see, in March 2026. There's one booth left. So if you would like to have more information about that, please check the event page of SESTA, or contact one of your activity managers or us if you have additional questions about the Pro Wine activity. We also have the IFE. IFE is International Food and Drink event, so it's not only drinks. It's an interesting event. It's in London. It's really for the UK market. So it's not. It's becoming more international as well, but not as international as Pro Wine. But if you really would like to target the UK market, this is a very important trade show to come to. So as you can see, the deadlines, and it will be March 30th to April 1st, 2026, and 2 booths left. So any additional information you would like about that trade show, or pictures or whatever, please do let us know. Another interesting trade mission, it's outbound trade mission. So it's to the UK and Netherlands in June 2026. It's more about educational, inspirational, networking events, some meetings, some retail visits, some trade visits. So it will be a very interesting trade mission to participate in, starting as we have it now, starting in the UK and then finishing in the Netherlands. So that would be something you would find more information also on the SESTA website. And now I'm giving back the floor to Anouk.
Thank you. How to prepare for success? Let me open. Yeah. So entering Europe can be a great opportunity for you, but it might be clear already that it takes good preparation, of course. So the companies that succeed in the market are the ones that plan early, that understand the local rules, the ones that stay professional and have patience. So some key steps for to prepare for a market is are described below, are described here. So the first one is make sure your product fits the market. So make sure your product is in the 70 ml bottles instead of a 750 ml. Prepare your labels to make sure that they are compliant for the market. Step 2 is tell a clear and simple story. When you are at a trade show or meeting with buyers, they don't have time for long explanations, but also the consumers don't have time for that. They want to see it in 1 second when they see your product on the shelf. So they in the first impression, they want to know what makes your brand special. Focus here on the origin of the product, how it's made, and what makes it different from other spirits. So prepare a short brand pitch for about 30 seconds. That should be enough to grab a buyer's attention during a trade show. Prepare strong sales materials when you are planning to attend one of those events. So bring a one-page sales sheet with your key information, a photo of the product, the story behind the product, tasting notes, price range, and of course your contact details. You can sell your products in US dollars. And it's good to prepare a price list, including both ex-works and free on board prices. And also here, the European buyers, they really appreciate transparency and clear cost structures. So the fourth step is plan your logistics and partners. So for US companies, again, working with a local importer is the best way to enter the European market. The importers, they understand the local laws, the taxes, the logistics. They have direct relationships with the retailers, with the distributors, and the on-trade partners. They can help you with label, documentation, product registration, all to avoid costly mistakes, which we all want, of course. Then step 5 is be ready to follow up. We see this a lot, and many companies make the mistake of meeting buyers and then going quiet. They don't follow up with them. And that's too bad if you have good contacts and are not doing anything with it. In Europe, relationships grow really slow, but once trust is built, they can last for years. So always follow up after a meeting, send product updates, make sure you connect with them via LinkedIn so that you stay visible online. It's really important to follow up. And also think about the long term. So exporting spirits, it's not a one-time sale, it's a process. And you might start with small volumes or export to a few bars, but build from there. Set realistic goals for your first year when you are in the market. And a goal can be securing one importer to work with, or a listing at the retailer, and grow from there step by step. So to sum up, prepare your labels, your pricing, and your story. Work with the local importer. Be patient, professional, and consistent. Then yeah, and also be flexible. That's really important to adapt your market approach for each market. Then we have our contact details here. Again, if you have any questions, send us an email, but also check the SESTA website. Go to sesta.org/event, where you can find all SESTA events for Europe, but also for the other markets, of course. But of course, we hope that we will see you soon at one of the SESTA events in Europe. During this webinar, I already saw someone that registered for the outbound trade mission, which is great. We hope that we can get a big group so that we really can make an impact, and yeah, that the buyers are interested in meeting all of you. Then it's time for some questions. Did we already receive a question in the chat box? Good morning, Danielle.
Hello,
Great
everybody.
to see you.
Nice to see you all.
I know
know,
there's
I was-
something I would like to add. May I, Danielle?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
please. Yeah.
All right. No, I just realized that, for example, what we've been hearing as well, entering in a certain market at a certain price level, is it could be, for example, that if you would be entering a new market, that the buyer would like to first start with a, let's say, a lower price level. So it would be more, I would not say generic, that's not the right word. But for example, if you're entering a new market and you already come with a very high price level, that's quite tricky. And it doesn't mean that your product is not worth it, and it's not the right value for it. It just means that sometimes you need an entry-level product. And once there is an entry-level product, then they could work with a special release on a later stage, for example. Then people are willing to pay for it because there's quite a niche market, really, let's say, fans of whiskey or bourbons, and they're really willing to pay for the product. But for the more, let's say, the general public, sometimes the price is quite important. So that's just something I would like to add to that. That was it.
Great. Yeah, very helpful. Good tip. So it looks like we did just have a question come in. To what extent are producers limited in exporting to the EU if they do not offer products in the 700 ml format?
Shall I answer that, Anu?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Well, it is, you will be limited. I mean, officially in Europe, it's simply 700 euros, sorry, euros, 700 ml bottles. That's just the legislation. There are, let's say, we've been hearing that there is some gray zone, that, for example, if you would fill a bottle, 750 bottle with only 700 ml product, and you would have the right labels on 700, that it would be tolerable, but it's not official. The official regulations are 700 ml. So, I mean, in terms of, you will be starting maybe on a small tasting event and you have only 750 ml, that's not really going to be an issue, or on a trade show. But once you want to start doing business, you would really need to adapt to 700 ml unless the legislation is changing.
Mm.
So it is essential, that's in short.
Yeah.
There might be exceptions, but those will be exceptions.
Yeah, okay. I know it seems like, just from anecdotal conversations I've had with people, that sometimes feels like the biggest barrier. You know, it's like, oh, then we have to adjust our bottle size, and that feels like a big change.
Which it
Okay.
is, of course. So
Yeah.
then it's really important that you really focus on one of the markets and really want to go into it. But when you're discovering the market and then trying to find a partner, you don't need to do this already. After finding the right partner, you can take this step.
Yeah.
Also for changing your labels. we don't recommend you to already change your labels for the markets before you have a partner that you want to work with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good advice. Any other questions? All right, I don't see anything else. Oh, here we go. Have companies been able to utilize the 50% cost share program in order to purchase those new bottle sizes? Good question. I actually just had this conversation with our cost share team recently. So the cost share program, just for those of you who aren't aware, is something that SESTA offers, and it's a 50% reimbursement of some international marketing expenses, international promotion expenses. And when I say some, there is, a limited number of things that we can help with, but one of those things is getting your packaging and labels into compliance. That said, so companies can come to us. I'm trying to think the best way to explain it. For the alcohol industry, it's usually just going to be your labels that we can help with. If your label is imprinted into the glass, then yes, we would be able to help you with the actual cost of the bottle. Otherwise, that expense is really more for the actual labels, not the whole bottle. So again, it would have to be your brand and everything like imprinted into the glass. And then you could apply to get the 50% reimbursement for that. Otherwise, it is just the actual labels, the translation and the production of the labels, or if you're stickering, creating stickers, and even the cost of, hiring someone to affix the stickers. Someone asked, where can we get the PowerPoint? So we will post the recording of the webinar as well as the presentation there's a page in your MySESTA account that says past webinars, and we will have it there by the end of today.
I will also send out an email notifying you guys that it's been posted and that you guys can put the link to access it as well.
Great, thank you, Macy. Must the 50% cost share opportunity be linked to a specific trade show? Not the packaging and labels. So you could just do that on its own. A lot of what companies come in for are trade shows and trade missions, but there are things that you can do with SESTA and with cost share that are not at all linked to an event, like your packaging and labels, or if you want to advertise in a foreign country, that doesn't have to be tied to a trade event or anything like that. So there are a few things that are just, promoting your product and helping get your product into the market. We'll give everybody a little time, and you all may have mentioned this, but I just want to also plug the consultation. So if you have really specific questions for Anouk and Inga that really pertain to your company and your products, and you want to speak with them individually, one-on-one, they're on the export education page of the website. You can register for a consultation with our team at FAF. And once you register, they would then reach out to you to schedule a time for a Teams or a Zoom call. Those are free. It's just a way for you to have access to these, experts that are in Europe, and same with all of our consultants. So, that's a good opportunity and resource as well.
And I will also link the consultations as well in the email sent out later today.
Great. Excellent. All right. And yeah, if you have cost share questions, send them to me or to the cost share team, and we'll get those answered as well. But if that is everything, we are so happy that everybody was here today. Thank you so much. A lot of great information.
Thank you. And hope to see all of your products soon in the European market. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Take care.